Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders, and I'm pleased to have on with me the new head football coach for the Ansonia Chargers. Yes, I said that correctly. New head coach for the Ansonia Football Chargers. John Mihalko is with me. John, first off, pleasure to be able to have you. Congratulations on being named the Ansonia football coach.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You know, John, you and I were just kind of talking shop, and I could kind of talk to you forever about the Ansonia days, obviously the NESCAC, because you played for Trinity, and we'll get into that and all that. But first off, I just want to say, any coach, regardless of the sport, when you get named head coach, it's like you can't blink and you got tons of things coming at you. How's it been for you early on?
Um, you know, it's being named obviously is a great honor, but with that comes that, inevitable like that impending like, oh man, now it's on me.
Yeah.
All of that legacy that we have in Ansonia is, now it's my turn to,
Mhm.
I gotta step up. I gotta, do all the things that need to be done in order for our program to be successful.
Mhm.
So that was a little very overwhelming at first, but when you break it down, it's football is still football. I mean, I've been a part of this program now for 12 years. I've seen it run.
Mhm.
I've seen what we need to do to be successful in the weight room and on the practice field, on the game field. And, so my best is just trying to emulate those as best I can and add my own touch to it where it needs to be. And then, hopefully all the little things kind of the big things will take care of themselves, do the little things right.
How important is it? Because I think people on the outside kind of lose sight of when you have the same coaches for so many years. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, they have the same guys, they just know. And they do. I think having Kingsley there, having Spoonie there, so many guys, right? And I think with you have being with the staff since 2014, I feel like not to say that there won't be a learning curve, because as a head coach, you have way more responsibilities than as an O-line coach, but you have the ability to be able to, where almost like you and Kingsley and Spoonie and all the other guys, you're all thinking the same thing because you've been together now for a long time.
Yeah, I mean the whole staff is coming back other than obviously Tom. And
Mhm.
that consistency is good for me, it's good for the kids. And then when you think about it, like between Bob Lisi and Coach Sponheimer, you have over 100 years of experience coaching right there in
Yeah.
the NVL. I've been coaching for nearly 20 years. Shane's been in there for another 15. I have a bunch of other coaches who are in double digits so we're looking at like 200 some odd years of total coaching experience. So that is really beneficial for our program and for our kids. So that's always a huge
Mhm.
boon for Ansonia.
Now, kind of take me into now, you played for Shelton. Obviously, offensive line is your game. You played in college. You were a part of the Hogs. You wanted to get dirty. I'm sure you squatted 1,000 pounds. Kind of take me into that a little bit if you can.
I think from a very early age, when I was 8 years old, I think my coach saw me run and said, "Nah, you go with those guys over there." And I basically been a lineman since I was 8. I grew up on it. We had a whiteboard at my kitchen table. I've been talking shop with my father, who was my offensive line coach in high school for as long as I could possibly, remember. And then again, I played offensive line in college. And then I actually coached defensive line in college for a couple seasons. But again, I used my offensive line experience to facilitate my coaching on defense. So I could tell those kids, like, you
Mhm.
see them do this is what they're doing. And then I went to my friend Nick Capria called me up one day, asked me to help out at Emmett O'Brien. I went there for 2 seasons. I coached the offensive line. I called the defense there, and then Tom gave me a call back in 2013. Was looking or 2014, early 2014, looking for another line coach, and
Mhm.
the rest is the rest is history. So offensive line it's what I love. It's what I do, and I'd like to think I'm pretty decent at it. We've had some success in the past, so hoping to build on that.
If you can, because other than Tom, I haven't really had the opportunity to ask this question to anybody else, so I'll be very curious to see your answer. When you first stepped foot on the Ansonia campus, when you first stepped on the field, the high school and all that, maybe not even so much the first step, maybe the first week, first season, whatever it was. What was the biggest thing that kind of like made such a big impression on you that still holds to this day, beyond the fact of the tradition?
You know, as a player, it's always a little different, because each program is slightly, a player like culture is slightly different, but the winning cultures all have kind of the same thing.
Hmm.
It's a drive to, it's a drive to be the best. It's a drive to play every play, as hard and as fast as you possibly can. And Ansonia had that, but it also had it in the coaching room. Like we got after it. We wanted that. Our drive to win was as great as any player, we've had. We want to win. We don't like losing. We attack film. We attack our play calling. We're aggressive, and it's that intensity that I love. And it's honestly, it's as close to getting back on the field and pads as you're gonna get, and I love it. And
Hmm.
you know, it's great.
How tough is it, Coach, when you see the game? Obviously, the game has changed a lot from when you played to when you coached to when you were on the defensive side coaching to then now being offensive line and then the head coach. Like the game has evolved in so many ways, but I feel like Ansonia has really stuck to what has been their bread and butter. Obviously, if you the Kaminsky's of the world, the Sheldon Schulers, if you can huck the ball, throw the pigskin, you will. But obviously, your thing is running the football, using the offensive line, using the power running backs, and enforce your will and just squeeze them like a snake. Squeeze the opposing team to the point where by the third quarter, they're like, I'm tired of getting hit by all these dudes, every Whittle and Big Red and all that, right? So was it tough or not tough as far as sticking to that and not being like, oh, maybe I want to go to this concept or that concept? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't plan on changing that much. I again, I came. One of the reasons I loved coming here, and when I
Mhm.
talked to Tom initially, was because we ran the ball. And he ran it effectively. He
Yeah.
uses formations very well, but we ran the ball and we kept it simple, simple things, but practicing them till they're perfect. You know what I mean? And even then, not even getting to perfect, but practicing them till they're as close to perfect as we can possibly make it.
Mhm.
I feel a lot of teams try and do too much. Um, and we do a good job of taking the personnel we have and making it successful to what we can do.
Mhm.
And we try and keep it relatively simple, but with that simplicity, we have effectiveness. The plays we run them effectively, we run them correctly, and we're not, thinking at a million different things at a million miles an hour. It's
Yeah.
a couple of things we do very, very well. And that's the Ansonia way. And I appreciate it very much. So I love that part. Downhill right at you, wears you down, and then after a while, like it gets tiring.
You know, what's really impressed me since I started, so I've been with the radio station since 2017, full-time play-by-play since 2018. So I've seen Ansonia football since then, right? And I
Mhm.
can tell you, I have not seen many teams, not just in football, but overall, that do the little things. I know obviously not perfect because nobody is perfect.
Perfect, right?
But what Ansonia does so well every time I've seen them, other than which is surprisingly the Naugatuck game this past the day before Thanksgiving with all the penalties. I don't think I've ever seen a game where Ansonia had that many penalties. But typically, you guys have less than three penalties a game. I feel like you kick the ball well, you pump the ball well, field position, you play defense. Like you don't give away big plays. Like the things that typically win you games that people may not notice you guys do very, very well. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. And I've always been a promoter. When you do the little things right, the big things always take care of themselves. If you have good ball control, if you don't turn the ball over, if you don't commit penalties, and if you can control the clock, your chances of winning are much greater than your opponent.
Mhm.
And those are just a few of the little things we do well at Ansonia. We harp on proper technique for blocking. We harp on communication, making your calls, and lining up correctly. And for the most part, we do a pretty good job of that.
Mhm.
And again, the little things done right take care of the bigger things, and that's how that equals wins.
And another thing too is that the players buy in, right? I remember when I was talking to Mr. Palmer a couple years ago when I had him on the podcast. I mean, the kid went from a wide receiver to a kicker, and then he was even in the backfield as his senior year, right? You go to
Yeah.
the amount of running backs that you've had over the course of years, even before I was around. Obviously, the Dobbses, you think about we just saw the older Whittle, right? I'm sure maybe younger Whittle may be in the backfield. Who knows? You're the mad genius now. You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever I
But
want.
but the point is though, is just that I feel like whoever you put in whatever role, it's kind of like the Belichick thing. Don't tell me what he can't do. Tell me what he can do. And I feel like you guys get the most out of the kids that you have, which mind you, you're not picking out of 1,000 kids.
Yeah,
And
we
so
got a
it's
pretty
a very
pretty
small
small
school.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always also, one of the philosophies again, you should always put your players in a position that they could be successful.
Mhm.
And, and that includes the position they play in. And I can think of thinking back in my, 11-year career, how many kids have changed positions over like I would Turwan a couple years ago. He played guard and fullback, then tight end, and then we had Malcolm Martin played guard, fullback, and linebacker. And we've had kids who year to year will switch around based on our needs and based on what we need. Like again, Jaden Will's a perfect example. We were down a fullback. Well, who are we going to use? All right, let's use Jaden. And then we had some kids step up at tackle. He played tackle. Would have played fullback. We didn't put him at wide receiver because we we put him in a position where we thought he could be successful and at the same time help out the team. And with what limited number of kids we've had, I think we've done a pretty good job of that. So
I could tell you though, seeing Whittle get an interception against Woodland in the semifinal, I would like to see him maybe put him in the slot just for one play, just for one. I'm sure he's told you guys, just put me there once.
yeah,
And
we all can dream. We all can dream.
that's where it ends. Yeah.
Yeah, we all can dream.
That's funny. So, Coach, obviously the football season is still a semi ways away, but it's going to be here before you know it. I mean, we're only a couple days away from May. Then before that, it's June. And then,
Yep,
okay, here we go. Now the ball is rolling with obviously the football stuff in the off season.
yep,
Structurally, I know you're talking to Tom a lot, and I'm sure Tom is like obviously going to let you do your thing because now this is your team. Tom is the AD, so he has the whole
right.
school, but whatever. So the point is, though, are you kind of putting together things heading into the off season, or this case, the summer?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been. Shane also works in the building. Our Nick Johnson works in the building. Tom works. I meet with them all the time and talk about, personnel. I met with them. I met with the whole staff over break. And we talked ad nauseum about certain things we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish. Things that need to get done. Uh, you know, and we're just kind of have set checks on like what we want to hit, what we want to change, or
Mhm.
who could play where. Uh, that kind of thing. But it's hard because we don't have spring practice anymore, obviously. Uh, but we'll see from there after lifting, and then you're allowed 2 hours or whatever it is every week,
Hmm.
in the off season. So we could practice there and see who looks good, and then hopefully when we put the pads on, we'll really find out.
What are some of the things, Coach, that for you especially that you want to have accomplished during the summertime? Like, what are things that you want to do specifically?
All right. Well, I mean that's kind of tough. Obviously, I'd like to have
Hmm.
most of my positions like filled. You know what I mean? I want to have like a much clearer sense of who's going to play where and have much less question marks.
Hmm.
Um, I would like to have a general idea on some of the schemes I want to pull and change some of the groupings. Maybe there's a few minor adjustments that I want to make,
Hmm.
but again, they're not completely pressing at the moment. So I have some time, and I'm still even I say that I still have written all of these down they're on my desk as we speak in school, like groupings and stuff like that. I want to go over what I want to call things, what I want to do for motions and stuff
Hmm.
like that there. And we'll talk as a staff, we'll talk as a group and see what we come up with. But I definitely have a general plan on what I want to do. So I think we'll be all right. That's probably the plan for the offseason. And passing league will probably be another thing.
Mhm.
As a lineman, I don't really go to passing league. I just kind of, I do the line. I have like a lineman clinic then when they have passing league, so I have the lineman over and I'll go over stuff there. So that'll be slightly different this year.
Mhm.
I'll go to passing league, but not much is going to change per se from summer. Once we just have a little bit clearer self of where our
Mhm.
who's going where, I think is probably the biggest thing we want to start with.
As we kind of look towards the next football season, right? I think there's last year there was a lot of turnover with teams. This year there's a lot. I mean, every year there's typically is a good amount of turnover, but I think the last couple of years there's been a lot of graduations for a lot of teams, right? You guys have shown that even with some graduations and you've lost some guys, you just reload, find it, figure out, and the way we go. I know some people have their kind of pre-rankings and say they have this team and that team. Who knows where they've got, obviously, you guys, but you guys don't even care about that, right? You just want to go
Mm,
out and play.
No, our ultimate goal every year is to win a title. At the end of the year, like so you're ranked eighth instead of third or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Your goal is to win the game. Your goal at the end of the season is not to be ranked in the top 10. Your goal is to win a state title. That's ultimately it. So when you win one,
Mhm.
you accomplish your mission, regardless of what the newspapers or say or what or talking heads, whatever it is, doesn't necessarily matter. So again, that's going to be the goal. And in terms of players leaving and coming, every year, I think this is probably true of almost every team. One or two seniors always step up somewhere that you never thought will, and they'll step up. Those kids who are sophomores and they're going to be juniors, that is the year most of the players make the biggest jump. They go in, all of a sudden, they come in the weight room sophomore year at the end of the season, and they look like boys, and then they come out all of a sudden August comes around, and you're like, damn, he's put on 20 pounds, gets put on 20 pounds of muscle. He looks really good. You know what I mean? Like, and that happens on every team every year if you have a pretty good lifting program. So
Mhm.
always get kids coming in and out. Now, granted, the special kids are always tough to find. The Quintez Whittles of the world and the Kaminsky's leadership.
Mhm.
But again, kids have to step up, and that's I think most seniors will, show what they got and they'll come out of nowhere. And who knows, maybe you get a sophomore in there somewhere who helps your program out. But that's usually what ends up happening. And I think that's pretty true of most programs.
I expect somebody who maybe didn't have as big of a role last year will probably pop this year for you guys. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be somebody.
If you know who it is, let me know too, so I can play him a little more.
Well, let me go back through the roster. I'm sure I could pick out a name. So, Coach, before I let you go, I need to ask you because I didn't have the opportunity to ask Tom because when I saw the play happen, I felt like he was jumping for a second and he was like, "Oh wait, no, I got to be composed now because we still got zero point 0.3 seconds." The Sorrentino play,
Oh
the
my
seven,
God.
like take me broadcasting that thing. It was I don't know if you listened to the final minute of that game.
I mean,
Brian,
I saw it. I've watched a ton of
yeah,
videos
yeah,
on it afterward.
it was
They're just trying. Then when they get the 2 point conversion, like your heart
insane.
sinks. It's just like you get that gut. But again, it's football. Anything can happen. You can't get down. You got to keep the kids up. You got to let them. You got to pick them up. You got to tell them to keep fighting. 35 seconds left is time to do anything. That's not peanuts. Like if there was 2 seconds left, I might have felt a little worse. But 35 seconds is a lot.
Mhm.
And we got the return. Okay, we're at midfield. Like okay, that's a decent starting time with 20 something seconds.
Mhm.
And then you get the penalty. I go, okay, you're a little closer and that play, I mean, you're watching that ball and it's just hanging up in the air. And of course, like on the sideline, like depending on where you are, you can't necessarily always see it.
Mhm.
And all I could see really is the arms because you can't see it because his back is to our sideline. So you really don't see him make the catch necessarily. He
Mhm.
makes the catch, makes two things, and then you see everyone along that fence in the back, their hands go up, and then the crowd goes absolutely bananas, and everyone's jumping around. I think some guy jumped over the fence and started celebrating with the kids. I think at one point it was nuts. It's definitely a play I'll never forget.
Mhm.
It's definitely one of my favorite of Ansonia history that I've been a part of.
Hmm.
It's definitely one of the more memorable plays, probably in Ansonia history in general. Like, it's one of those plays probably going to be talked about for a
Hmm.
while because it was just that monumental. Last play of the game to make the playoffs. Beating an NVL rival.
Hmm.
Woodland's a solid team. They are no slouches by any means, and so that was one of the best plays I've ever seen. But talk about having a heart attack, man, on a field. Oh my God.
And you know what's funny too is typically that side of the field is usually where the opponents struggle to score, especially at night. It's one of those weird things where I've noticed teams cannot score on that side, but Ansonia making special things happen on a field that I really wish there was a way for fields to talk so they could write a book because I would love to hear the stories and read about the games played on that field. Seriously.
There's some really good ones, some heartbreaking losses on that field,
Mhm.
some really good games on that field. Yeah, it's been around for a long time, although, not much longer, I would think.
Yeah.
But it's been around for a while. So yeah, that field's probably got quite a few war stories going on there.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to being able to talk with you more during the summer and the fall because I know for one thing, Ansonia will be on the radio broadcast quite a bit. I could tell you that much, as they always are. So, I
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
always I wrap things up in the CT Sports Talent Show. Next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. Enjoy, find them all. Enjoy the show, everybody. And be well.